All right. Welcome back to Shoot Your Shot. Shoot your shot. Shoot your shot.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to another week.
We're excited, per usual, for another episode. And once again, we are going to be talking about things that are very relatable. If you're a creator, we hope this, we want to feel like your bestie online, where every time you have a question or like a specific topic that you're like, oh, only creators get this, we're here to emphasize and be like, yes, we do get it. So
we're your girls.
Another one of those. Today's topic is the pressures of social media, which should be a fun one because everybody feels some sort of pressure.
Literally, I feel like if you don't feel pressure in some form from social media, then
teach us how.
Yeah, literally, I was gonna say, tell us
on how to do that, because
literally
pressure is definitely getting to me, and I know a lot of other people, and also I don't even know if this is like necessarily just a creator thing. This really would be relatable to most people, I would assume. There's just so much pressure from social media in general. So this isn't even necessarily just for a content creator or an artist. I think this is just relatable for the whole
everyone.
World.
Yeah. But we are going to touch on some specific things related to the pressures of being a creator in the social media world. So
let's get right into it.
Yes, let's do it. Okay, let's start with the FOMO aspect. So I would love for us to discuss that social media creates this idea that we are always missing out on something, whether it's your social life, the way that you live your life in general, like doing yoga, going to the gym, eating healthy, whether you're not creating enough as a creator and putting enough content out, if you're not doing the coolest new video trend or new sound trend or whatever. There is always a sense of FOMO, and whether you want to say that you have it or not, I feel like everybody to a certain point in their life has had FOMO from social media.
Oh yeah, the FOMO has been there since high school at this point.
Literally.
As we've always known, and I feel like this is such a common conversation these days, so this is not like a new thing, but people post their best moments online, and that includes, in the creator world, your biggest achievements, your biggest gig, your most notable moments in your career. And it's just so easy to compare yourself when all you're seeing online every day is the person who had just a gig with a celebrity, or someone's best paid gig, or someone just got to shoot a really exciting project. And you're just constantly seeing an influx of the best success moments of a career. And it can obviously get to you and make you think that you're not having any successful career moments because, 9 times out of 10, it might just be a regular gig. And then that one gig is super amazing, but you're only seeing that one gig from everybody combined. And so you're just drowning in this, I'm not good enough. I suck. I'm not getting the success that I've always wanted. And it just develops this massive FOMO that we can all relate to.
And I think to that point as well, like how you're saying you only see the good, a lot of the times too, people will post what you think is this really big accomplishment for them too. But the reality is they might have not even had that big of a part in it. And they just kind of might even want to just take credit to be like, look how cool I am, guys. Look at this thing. And for all you know, they could have just helped on one little thing, but it looks like they did the whole thing. So I guess it's also just not everything that you even do see is true. A lot of people kind of manipulate what they're posting to make it seem better than what it might even be.
That's such a fair point. And even building on top of that, someone might be posting that they have this huge gig and it seems like such a big deal. And wow, they've just gotten the project of their life and they're doing it for free. Or they're doing it for a massively undercut pay. And so you're like, whoa, they just got to shoot this immense project with this crazy celebrity, or their photos are going to be all over for this. And then the reality is they got paid $600 when their day rate is $4,000. But they said yes to it because it's that big client, that big name. So again, the FOMO isn't even built on truth so much of the time. It's just built on this facade of what people are presenting, and it's BS sometimes, which makes it even worse because then we're sad and comparing ourselves to something that doesn't even exist.
Literally. And I know even I've had a moment where specifically in the travel space where I'm like, oh my God, I want to work with that hotel or that company, maybe be like VRBO so bad. And I'll see people on their stories like tagging them, and I'm like, how the fuck did this person work with them? I'm like, are you serious? But you have to keep in mind, they might not even be working with them. They might literally have paid to go to that hotel, but then because they want to make it seem like they're working with them, they might just take a story and say, oh my God, thank you at whatever for this view. It's so pretty. And the reality is maybe spent like $200 to stay there that night, or $300. They're not even working with them.
Oh, yeah. I feel like this was one of my pet peeves in season 1 when we had the pet peeves episode, when I said it bugs me so much when people say shooting for Nike or shooting for some big brand when they're not actually getting paid and they're not actually affiliated with that brand. They're just tagging them, hoping that the brand will see and then be like, oh my gosh, we love your content for us. We want to hire you. So yeah, this FOMO is built off of something that's not even real.
Like lies.
On lies. Everything's built on a lie.
I know.
Yeah, but the FOMO is so real, and it is an immense pressure when you're a creator, especially when you freelance. Obviously, when you are creating full-time for a specific brand, if you're salary for a brand and you're, shooting in-house for a company, like that's a little bit different. But when you're freelancing and you're kind of like every month, you're in survival mode because you don't know what's going to come the next month. When all you're seeing online is the success of everybody else, you might be thinking like, wow, this month I got to shoot a bunch of senior photos and I shot Christmas card photos and like, I'm not killing it at all. Like I'm just not successful. When in reality, we're seeing one person's really good moment. And then behind the scenes, they're also shooting all the senior photos. They're also shooting the family portrait. And there's no shame in that. Like, I still shoot so many random portraits that, you know what? It pays my bills. It gets me an extra however many dollars a month that then I can cover all of my expenses for a trip or something. And there's no shame in that. And the truth is, am I going to go out of my way to share those small gigs? No. And maybe I'm part of the problem. Like maybe I'm adding to this FOMO, but I don't find some of those projects exciting. They're not riveting and they're not showing off my best skills. I don't show that. But that is the truth, is like I am still shooting all these like small gigs on the side. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And maybe we should all make an effort to show a more realistic approach of what the day-to-day and a creator, even in a successful creator's life is, because it does involve a lot of like maybe not so exciting projects sometimes.
Yeah, that was said so perfectly. Even like to add to that, like I shoot weddings. And I don't even talk about how I shoot weddings, but it's like such good side money. But I never really post about it because like you said, it's just not something that I feel like excites me to share, but at the same time is the reality of it. And just to add a little note to what you just said, but that was said so perfectly.
You know what's funny actually is that this happens all the time where I meet a creator who's like really big on Instagram, or who I know I've been following for a while, and they're always shooting these like really cool projects. And then I'll be like, oh, like what project are you working on right now? Thinking they're going to tell me they're like going to Saudi Arabia to like shoot for the tourism board. But they're like, oh, I'm shooting like 2 weddings this month. And I'm like, wait, you shoot weddings? Like the amount of times people have told me they shoot weddings people I would never expect shoot weddings. That's still how they make their money on the side. Outside of the really cool, like flashy gigs, they're shooting weddings, and there's nothing wrong with that. And everybody does that. And I'm not going to name these creators, but like they're huge. They're well-known creators. And I'm always just like flabbergasted that they still shoot weddings, because that means they're not getting a $10,000 sponsorship ad every month. And that's fine. They're still having to rely on, other sorts of projects. And I think that's actually really cool when people admit that and are like, oh yeah, I'm actually shooting like family portraits or senior photos or a wedding. I'm like, oh, you just became so much more real and relatable. And I feel like I'm not a failure in my career. I feel like we're all at the same place, which is actually really encouraging.
Because I think it also is important to note too, like, let's say if you are somebody who's looking at all of these Instagram posts and online things, thinking that everybody's always doing such a cool project, like it doesn't last. Like it's not sustainable. Like I think it's really important to note that if you're going to be in this creator world, and if you already are in this creator world, like having project after project after project, like we didn't come into this career knowing that it's going to be a 9-to-5 stable job. If we wanted like stability, we would have chosen that life. But there is no way that we can have stability as a creator, having big job after big job after big job. Like if you do, congratulations, you've cracked like the life code. You found like whatever it is, like the golden egg, how to do it, but like that's just not realistic. I think embracing that you have to do that is better for you, because it almost will empower you more as a creator to know that it is okay to embrace that you have to do those jobs too, because everybody does.
Exactly. And part of that embracing is also being realistic and saying, hey, I get to live off creating full time. And it doesn't matter that, half the month I'm shooting a taco truck or I'm shooting, a kid's birthday party. I'm still living off of my craft and living off of what I love to do. And that's more than some people can say. Like, that's still a huge success, a huge win for you. Like, you're living off of what you love to do. And regardless if it's shooting for Nike or shooting for a kid's birthday party, you're still doing it. You're successful. You're still a successful creator. And that's so, so exciting. So like, keep that in mind. You're still killing it.
Yes. And I've even had to have a moment within myself being like, wait, Georgia, like, you literally got an opportunity to create something. Sure, it might not be like your dream project, but like, you're still allowed, like, you're still able to have this full-time lifestyle as a creator. Like, just because it's not a project that you necessarily love, like, still just like be grateful that you're allowed to create full-time. So I think that's a really good point, because I'm sure other people go through that, like, waves of like, oh my God, I'm not creating what I want. Like, you're still creating. Like, you're still creating.
Yeah, you could be not creating at all. You could not be booking a single job. You could be still in that phase where you're trying to go full-time creating. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You are killing it. If you're getting paid to create, you're freaking killing it. I think another pressure that, I know you definitely feel this, and like I think everybody feels this, is no longer creating for ourselves, but creating for the algorithm.
Yep.
And catering our work, especially our spec work, because I think this doesn't necessarily apply to client work, obviously, because they have their own vision, their own shot list or whatever. But when you're creating your own spec work, your own personal projects, there is this temptation constantly to create for the algorithm, knowing that like this type of edit goes really well or does really well on social media, or like this type of styling or this type of storytelling always just gets so much engagement on social media. So there's a temptation to create for the algorithm, for the likes, for the attention, versus creating authentically for ourselves and what we love in our own vision. And that's just a massive pressure, because it's just inevitable that we're going to be tempted to want to get attention on social media with our work and to be recognized. And that's totally normal and a fair thing to feel. But it is so difficult sometimes to not step into that path of, well, I know this is going to do really well on Instagram, so I'm going to make it like this vibe because I know it's going to get an extra 2,000, 3,000 views on a reel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just constant pressure that I think we all feel.
I don't want to say like before like Instagram was a thing, because it makes me sound really old, but before like it got to this like more extreme state where everybody's constantly on it and everybody's like consumed with posting. I think like maybe like 5 years ago, when I like first moved to LA and I was like, oh my God, like I'm so obsessed with creating these ideas. I would just do like random passion photo shoot projects and get like so creative with them and have so much fun with it. And I would just post it. And I mean, obviously like I would hope that people like also take interest in it to a certain degree, but like I didn't really care as much. And I have even noticed a transition within myself to today where I still like post what feels authentic to me, but I have this constant like internal struggle where I'm like, I know that I could probably be so much further in my social media in terms of like growth, like followers, like opportunities. Not that it's all about that, but I know I could be like up here, but I'm still kind of right here. And that's because I have this constant struggle of I only really want to post what feels good to me and authentic to me. But then I'm like, but if I just like sit down and like really create a bunch of shit that I know the algorithm will like, because I do social media management for clients. Like I know exactly how to like make my account go viral and get all the followers, whatever, if I want to do it. But I'd have to like sacrifice my own brand. I'd have to like sacrifice my own like authentic way of telling stories. So I even struggle with that constantly. I'm like, I wonder if I just do it and I get to like 100,000 followers and then go back to like Georgia, is that okay? And I haven't done it yet, obviously, because I just really believe that authenticity is like the best way to go. And like, I personally would rather grow slower, knowing that my voice is my voice, instead of grow quicker just to appease an algorithm. But that doesn't mean that I don't have that daily pressure and stress, because we're consumed by it like all the time. So just a little like tangent on that, if you guys care, that I do relate to that a lot, like all the time, more than I probably even put out there, because you can't help. You're just surrounded by it constantly.
Totally. I was actually talking to Mike M.Visuals from London about this a couple months ago when I saw him in London. And we were talking about how there's kind of like this choice between going the influencer route and the creator route in a sense, where he was telling me, he was like, I'm surprised you don't have more followers. And I was like, well, I mean, I think I could if I like went full force into the Reels TikTok vibe. And I actually was for a little bit, like all of August, September, I was really hustling on my TikTok and it was working. I was getting like way more followers, but it didn't feel fun, to be honest. Like I don't really enjoy making short form content. It didn't feel very genuine. And it was just like a lot of fluff, which is fine because that does, if you want to go the influencer route, like you will make money from social media. And that's another route that's really exciting. That's totally works for so many people. And I think it would actually work for me. But you have to make that conscious choice to choose social media influencer direction versus just creating, being behind the camera. And we were talking about this and he was saying, if you want to go in that social media direction, you're going to have to drop all your client stuff. Like there's going to have to be like a 3, 4, 5, 6 month grind where you're only creating for yourself. You're making TikToks every single day. You are the brand, you are the personality, and you are the influencer essentially. And you're still shooting, but you're shooting kind of for the algorithm, for TikTok. And he said, but then you have to let go of everything else. You can't do both at the same time. It's impossible. It is literally impossible to do both. You would become so burnt out and so overwhelmed so quickly. And I thought about that and I was like, okay, maybe I want to go the influencer route. So I started making so many TikToks a day, posting every single day, and it was going well. And I just realized like I just love being behind the camera. Truly, I love working with clients. I love working with brands and just not being the center of the video every time. And I still enjoy making TikToks here and there, but it's true. You can't really do both at the same time. And so there's that pressure to do both, but it's like basically impossible. And like if anyone else is doing both, like go you.
Like,
I literally do not understand how. I don't know how you're doing it. I tried and I was so burnt out, but that is a massive pressure to create just to be a personality sometimes. And I mean, it would be fun. Like, don't get me wrong. I would love like 100,000 followers on Instagram who just follow my every move and like see what I'm like eating in the morning and what kind of shopping for cameras I'm gonna do in the afternoon and blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't know. It's just so much work.
Hard.
And I guess I just wasn't ready for that work.
No, I understand that. Because I think you and I even had this conversation, I think, outside of podcast world, maybe a month ago, where I told you like my work is a little slow right now. And I'm kind of like deciding if I want to throw that energy into my personal brand or if I should like do more outreach for clients because you can't do both. And I think like, because like I personally would love to focus more on my personal brand just in terms of like creating more personal ideas. I just love directing and coming up with like cool ideas. And at one point I was doing that. But again, it's like that almost has to be your full-time grind. Like I think I did it for like a week last month and I was pushing out like a new cool edit every day and it was fun. But then like my clients who I have where they were left on the back burner a little. And that was only a week and I had like a mini meltdown. I was like, oh my God, like if I don't take care of my clients' needs, I'm not gonna have any money. Like I'm not gonna be able to grow my company because I'm not just growing like me as like a freelancer. I'm growing like an actual fucking agency that's bigger than me. Like I can't do both. Like I'm still currently trying to find the balance of how to do both. Like literally yesterday I posted something on Instagram and I told myself I was going to post something every day for 2 weeks. And I'm like, that's not realistic, Georgia. Like you can't even look at your fucking SD card without having a meltdown because your client's calling you about something else. Like
well, I think that's the thing though also is if you do want to go that route, I feel like you just have to save up a ton of money because you're not going to make money immediately from being the personality. And so you need to have like $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 saved on the side because it's going to, like Mike said, it's going to be your only focus for a few months. And you're not just going to all of a sudden the first month, make an influx of sponsored ads. It's going to take a little bit of time. And so even when you're like debating whether to do that, like you need to have money saved up. You have to be okay with losing your clients because like there's no way, at least for what I do, like there's no way I can fully work on my client stuff and on mine. That's just, I mean, I like to sleep. Like I'm not trying to stay up for 20 hours a day. Like that's just not really doable for me. And yeah, you kind of have to like really prep beforehand because what are you going to do if you're not making money for 3-4 months while you build up
Literally.
your social media? Like, you need to have, I would assume, right? Is that what people do? Like, they have 15 grand just saved up to like do this?
Well, I'll say this. I know, so again, this is just like a personal experience. When I first moved to LA, I have always wanted to be an actress, like be in a Netflix comedy show. Like everybody knows it. I probably talked on this podcast way more about it than I should. But when I first moved to LA, I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to move to LA, be an actress. That's going to be my full-time thing. And I got there and I was like, oh my God, like I need money. Like this is such a, like I would kind of compare the acting industry a little bit to the influencer world where it's like you have to grind, like you have to go on constant auditions, you have to put yourself out there. And like if you do not have the money to sustain that, like you are just fucked. Like you cannot do that. And if you don't like I had friends who moved to LA who wanted to be actors as well. And like they were fortunate enough where they had paid like their first 6 months to like really pursue that dream, which like go you, nothing wrong with that. I just don't have that luxury. So like I had to shift and do other work. But again, if you're in it, if that's something that you want to do and you're like in it for the long run, like I think patience is something that you really have to own and understand and just like trust the process. Cause like acting aside, like if it's influencer, if it's your personal brand, like whatever, if that is something that you want to grow, like know that it is okay. Do it slow. And then when the time comes, make that shift and then focus your energy on it when it feels right. And just trust that it's okay if that's not the right now. Like even though the influencer world is huge right now, like it's okay if that's not right now and you have to wait a year or whatever. Yeah. Social media is not going anywhere. Like if anything, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And if like you don't become this like person that you want to be, creator, influencer, whatever, wise until like another like 5 years, when you reach year 5 and you start getting all those things you wish you had like the last 5 years, it's going to feel so much better to know you worked for it as opposed to like sitting there depressed being like, why don't I have this? Or like, why don't I do this? Like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so true.
I just have had that struggle all the time. So like I understand it.
You know what I think is interesting also is this fear of putting out educational content for fear that people will judge you based on your knowledge. I actually have this all the time. Whenever I posted anything educational, I'm like, I have immense imposter syndrome. That's like, I'm not good enough to be teaching anyone anything. And so because you typically have a lot of, I mean, if you're a creator, obviously a lot of other creators follow you. Whenever I posted anything remotely educational, I'm like, everyone on here is probably more educated than me, so they're probably judging the fuck out of everything that I'm posting, being like, that's actually not how you do it, or like that's a lame way of doing it, or you could do it this way, it'd be way better. And that's such like, I don't know, whenever I post literally anything remotely educational, I get like so anxious. I'm like, someone's gonna call me out and tell me that that's actually not good, or that's not how I should do it. And obviously everybody has their own unique personal way of doing it. Like I don't skin retouching the same way that anyone else maybe does skin retouching, and that's totally fine. But there's this pressure that no matter how much experience you have, it's never enough to be teaching anyone else. And it's funny because I do workshops for other photographers, usually like beginner photographers who are just, picking up a camera. And I have a few different ones, but the ones that are especially, well, the business ones I actually feel the most comfortable doing, but the ones where it's like actually how to shoot or how to edit, I'm like, do I have enough knowledge to teach someone anything? Or like, do I have enough experience, or who do I think I am? Like, it makes me feel like I think that I'm some like, I don't know, I have like 100 years of experience. And I'm like, no. I don't have nearly enough to be teaching anyone anything. And that fear literally never goes away, like ever.
Yeah. And I think I'll say to that too, like and this kind of ties into like another point that I feel like I'll follow up on this, but if you are a creator and you only follow other creators, like you're naturally going to think that, I mean, at least from my perspective and other people's, you're naturally going to feel like things are too oversaturated. The market is just, let me re-say that to seem cut. To kind of like follow up with that, I feel like, and this will be another point we touch on, if you are another creator that follows other creators, you are constantly going to think that the market is oversaturated. Like you're constantly going to see people's videos on like how to Photoshop this, to edit this, how to color grade this, blah, 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 like presets, LUTs, blah, 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 blah. And like, you have to remember that that's the world that you live in. And most people who might want to know your knowledge and what you have to bring to the table, don't follow the same people as you, first off, but also like they're not even like probably consumed in that creator world, right? Like they might only follow like maybe like a handful of creators who might not even post educational stuff. So when you pop up and you're like, hey guys, like I'm gonna teach you how to skin retouch because this is what I do for my photographs. That's so cool to this like 80% of other people, but because we always live in the creator world, we're just sitting there thinking like, oh my God, they're all gonna judge me because they skin retouch differently. But like, you're not appealing to that 20%. Like, let's be real, our creator friends aren't gonna buy or listen or do anything that we say because they all have their own artistic process. Whereas this
So
other
true.
where this other 80% are learning their process and like figuring out what the process even looks like. So that's who you're appealing to in your audience.
That's so true, actually, because, and this is actually funny that you say this because it relates actually to sometimes how I find how a lot of clients find me, is that I had to put myself into the regular person's head and be like, okay, if I was looking for a photographer, would I know a ton of photographers? Because in my mind, I'm like, everybody knows 500 photographers because like I know thousands of photographers.
Exactly.
But realistically, the average human being does not know maybe more than one creator. And so for the average person, they are learning. This is something completely new. And like you are being followed by a lot of creators, but also a lot of non-creators who have no idea what you're talking about, who don't know anything about this. And you're catering to those people, not to your other creator friends. And like you said, like my workshops, for example, it's like the only thing that I sell on my website. I'm not like hoping my photographer friends are going to purchase the workshop. I'm not expecting, any of the people that I am around for the most part to be purchasing that workshop, or even like random creators who've been doing this for a while. This is strictly for like your average person who just picked up a camera. And so it's so true. You have to like put yourself in that headspace. And additionally, this actually made me think of another point, that there's this like, at least for me, I don't know if anyone else feels like this, but I have this pressure to engage with everybody on my feed whenever I go on Instagram. And this is a huge reason why like I take massive Instagram breaks and I try to just get on Instagram, post, and then leave. Or I get on and like I'll interact with the first 5 people. Like I'll watch the first like 5 stories, like and comment on the first 5 posts. And then I know that if I keep going, I'm going to get sucked in. I'm just never going to get off Instagram. So I just exit the app, and then I don't end up supporting or engaging with like 95% of the people on my Instagram. And then I feel this immense guilt because I'll post something and I'll get like all this love and encouragement, and then I'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't do the same for anyone else. And so then I'll freak out and like feel guilty. But then if I get back into that role of like just scrolling and commenting and liking and scrolling, I mean, I would be there for hours literally every single day, and like sometimes I am, and I'm trying to not be on my phone. And so I don't know if you relate with that pressure, Georgia.
Oh,
but
I relate so much.
I feel so much guilt, but I'm like, realistically, I don't know what to do because I don't want to be on my phone on Instagram for an hour, just 2 hours, liking. And honestly, I just need to unfollow some people. Like there's so many accounts I follow that I just don't really interact. And obviously if it's someone that I know, that's different, but I follow so many random accounts that I don't know them personally. I've never met them, and I just need to like unfollow people, because at the end of the day, what's the point of even following 1,500 people when you're not even seeing any of these people's work? Like think about, on average, the people that you follow, do you actually see any of their work because of how stupid the algorithm is and how it's not chronological order? There's so many people I get follow whose work I've never seen.
I get like ads.
I follow them.
Yeah. No, on that point though, before we jump into the unfollow thing, I feel that pressure so much because like, so me personally, like I am logged into like a ton of Instagram accounts just because I have a lot of clients I do social media management for. So like once I like do the requirement, like posting and engaging on theirs, I'm like over Instagram for the day. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I've had enough. So I used to be like really active with my Instagram community, just in general, like friends, whatever. And then I would say like this past year, I've just like not. And I've had this happen to me. I always feel so bad. I have people come up to me like friends where they're like, oh my God, it's been so like, I've loved watching how you've done this and this and this and this and this. Cause like I'll post on my stories and I will have literally no idea what they've been up to because like I haven't really watched their stories or seen what they've posted, or we'll be like all at the same hangout and somebody brings up like, oh my God, like how was that project you worked on with so-and-so? Like that was so sick. And then I'm like, you worked with so and so? Like, how was that? Like, what happened? And I feel so bad as a friend because like you said, I don't spend that much time on my social media, probably as much as maybe people think I do, because I just can't. Like, my mind is like, I'll get sucked in and I'll start scrolling, and I'll just feel like so unproductive and so unmotivated after that to do anything.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I haven't found a balance with that yet, but I guess maybe this point is to say, if you guys feel this way, like, we also feel this way, and we don't have a solution, but that is a true thing. Like, I just am remembering a specific moment where somebody was mad at me that I didn't watch their stories to see what they were up to. And I was like, dude, why? I like just let's like talk about it right now in person. We're friends. Like, tell me.
Like, isn't it better to just do that in person anyways? Like, isn't it better to just be present with your friends and like catch up in person? Like, that's why I literally flirt with the idea of deleting my Instagram like every day. I'm like, it would be so much nicer to just not know what anybody's up to, and then like see them in person, actually have a lot to catch up on, and like really talk to them about what they're doing versus this like kind of half keeping up, half not keeping up, you know? Also, have you ever like seen someone always watches your stories, but then when you see them in person, they're like, oh, you did like blah blah blah, and you're like, don't you watch? Like, I see you watching all my stories.
I watch who watches my stories.
No, because I watch everything, and then it builds this like weird resentment, and I don't know. There's just so many things about keeping up with people online that's just not natural, and we're not meant to know what everybody's up to. Like, it's not how we were created.
We're not.
Our brains were not meant to handle the influx of information that's constantly being thrown at us through social media. And like, I shouldn't know what you were up to yesterday unless I saw you in person or we talked on the phone. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And it's almost like created, I don't know if I'm going to explain this correctly, but basically last night I was watching this like Western movie with my mom, and it was like way back in the day where they don't literally have anything. And I was just sitting there thinking, and I was like, wow, I genuinely miss how people used to like, I mean, obviously I wasn't alive in the Western days, but like even back in like high school days, right? Like, when Instagram wasn't as big as it is right now and social media wasn't as big, like literally I used to go over my friends all the time and we would just talk. Like, I wouldn't know what they had for breakfast. I wouldn't know what jobs they were up to. I wouldn't literally know anything until they told me to my face what was going on. And then that just also created more of an emotional connection to my friends because I was way more actively listening, actively invested in their life. Whereas now, I don't know, like, and maybe this is just me, but if even with like, I mean, obviously like you and I are best friends, Claire, but like even if I look at your stuff on social media, like I'm obviously like there hyping it up, but like until I actually talk to you about it, like I'm invested, but I'm not as like emotionally invested than if I were sitting here with you and you were telling me like with your passion and your emotion and your energy versus just like a photo or something or like a picture, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just how I am, but yeah.
Yeah. Going back to the unfollow thing. Okay. Hot take. This is my hot take. And I feel like some people might be offended, but whatever. You shouldn't have to follow someone just because they follow you. And especially if you've never met them, I will admit that if I haven't met you, unless I am obsessed with your work, I will not follow you back. And it's not because I'm trying to be a dick, but it's like I already follow 1,000 people. I don't know you. I've never met you in person. And yeah, your work is like fine. It's cool, but I'm not like pulling up your account for inspiration ever. And so I'm not going to follow you. And I think also that, again, hot take, I think if you haven't interacted with someone's Instagram for over a year, you should unfollow them. Because like, what is the point? Seriously, tell me what the point is. I would love to know. If you can someone can give me a good rebuttal, go for it. But if you are not engaging with someone for over a year, what in the damn hell is the point of you guys following each other?
No, honestly,
I mean, no,
you're right. I just did a huge like unfollow binge a couple weeks ago. I think I unfollowed like 200 people, and honestly, some of them weren't even following me. Yeah, but some of them weren't even following me back. So I kind of found out some fake people. I was like, wow, fuck you. I thought we were kind of friends.
Like, I'm gonna unfollow you anyways, but like, literally, screw you for unfollowing me first. I wanted to unfollow you first.
So now I am unfollowing you. So how does it feel? Even though they have no idea because they've unfollowed me so long ago.
But honestly, sometimes I get it because it's like we haven't even interacted, and you're like, like like when I first was on Instagram, I followed all these different artists. They followed me back. We were like Instagram homies, but then some of them I never met. Some of them I would like, DM here and there or DM a lot. And then lives change. You get interested in different types of work, and then you just kind of like don't really, relationship doesn't go anywhere. And also, as you get better in your craft, this is going to sound so fucked up, but like whatever. This is just how I see it. As you get better in your craft and some other people either go in a different direction that you don't like as much or you're not inspired by, if it's been like 3 years of you barely engaging with them and you don't even like their work, just follow them. Like, I've done that to so many people that I followed like 5 years ago when I was like, whoa, their work is sick. And then like my type of style changes or what I'm into changes. And then I'm like, I don't even really like this anymore. Like, I don't find any of these photos inspiring. And that's not to say they're not good photos. They're just, for me personally, beauty is subjective. Art is subjective. For me, it's not what I would consider inspiring. Why would I keep following them? Especially if we haven't DM'd, we haven't commented on each other's shit in 2 years. Literally tell me what the point is. And it's just clusterfucking your feed. You're just following so many people for no reason. And I just think that our lives are so cluttered. Just declutter a little bit, including on your Instagram. As you like throw away old clothes, you throw away old towels, you throw away old shoes, you throw away old water bottles. Just
you throw away old people.
Out your inbox.
Get them out.
Chuck them off your Instagram feed.
What's that saying from that show? Like, if it doesn't spark joy, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Exactly. If it doesn't spark inspiration or it's someone that you're actively friends with, just like give them a good old unfollow. And I did that actually. I did that on my personal account yesterday, actually. There is this like random girl that I met at a wedding 3 years ago. And like she was really cool. We had a good conversation. We follow each other on Instagram. We never spoke again after that. Had not interacted with this girl in 3 years. I will never see her again, probably. And I was like, nothing against you. You were a dope chick, but we had a 30-minute conversation and I'm unfollowing you because I haven't not interacted
Claire's a little more savage than me.
Well, I mean, what's the point? 3 years? Like, we don't even live in the same country. Like,
something that I've done. Okay, so let me give like another hack, because let's say maybe you do want to follow them, but you don't want to see them in your feed. This is what I did. I just like muted their post.
That's
because
a good one.
I don't know, because I do agree. There were people that I unfollowed where I was like, either one, you're not following me back, which rude, but two, maybe I just am not invested in your life anymore, and you're just, I don't know, I don't even really remember you, because there are some people that I meet where I'm like, I literally don't even know where I met you. Like, I feel like I have like short-term memory loss. So why do you unfollow?
Why do you mute?
No,
What's the difference?
No, those ones I'll unfollow. But let's just say like people that I meet, because I do care a lot about like my network, even if it is somebody that I met like 3 years ago. Like, I don't know, I'm really big on like, you never know what could end up happening with somebody you meet. So when I did my little follower deep dive and was unfollowing people, I was like, you know what, like I do remember meeting this person and they were kind of cool, but their posts come up on my feed all the time, and I would rather like friends that I know more of come up, so I'm just gonna mute them, but I'm still gonna follow them. And I don't actually know if that's more rude.
That's like borderline more savage than what I do. That's just.
I was gonna say that's. Well,
I'm real about it. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Georgia's like, I'm gonna pretend that I still fuck with you, but then I'm gonna mute you and never engage with you ever again.
Well, I mean, now that you say that, I guess it could come off like that. I didn't think of that. I just like didn't want to see them in my feed. Like, they always came up, and I was like, I'd rather see like my friends than you. But like, I still want to show you that like I care about you, but like I just don't want to see your post every day. I guess I could be fake. Fuck, am I fake?
You know, tell me if this ever happened to you, where you mute someone just for like a little bit because they're like, all right,
and they still watch your stories.
The whole time. What?
Oh, I was gonna say, and then you mute somebody, and then they still watch your stories, or they still like your stuff, and then that means that they looked you up to like it.
No, I was going to say you mute someone because they're either like going off about something all the time that's like not important to you or whatever. You mute someone and you're like, oh, I'm just going to mute them for a little bit. And then you just forget. And then like 2 years later, you're like, holy shit, I forgot about you. And you're like, what? Did this person die? Like, why haven't I seen this person on Instagram? And then you go on their profile and you realize you muted them 2 years ago.
And their whole life has changed. And you're like, oh my God.
That happened to me the other day. That happened to me the other day where I was like, I haven't heard of my friend, blah, blah, blah. Like, what has he been up to? I look up his Instagram and I was like, oh, shit, I forgot I muted this guy. I was like, damn.
And then you feel bad. So then out of nowhere, you just like all their stories and then you comment on their posts. You're like, yo, this is dope, bro. Like, nice seeing what you've been up to.
You like DM them. You're like, hey, what have you been up to? I haven't heard from you so long.
All right, that's fake as fuck. So don't even give me I'm fake. That's also fake.
Yeah, but that wasn't on purpose. I just legitimately forgot that I muted him.
That's funny.
Poor guy.
Poor guy. He's probably listening to this right now.
That is so funny. Honestly, the mute add-on to Instagram, that was a clutch add-on, not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, that was.
And how you can like mute their stories versus their posts. You can still like support their work if you want to, but like their stories are
I've done that. I mean, like, not to be mean.
You know what? Have you ever noticed if someone's muted you? Because there's definitely been a few times where I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm muted. Which like I don't care. Like you do you.
There's just
or I'm like, interesting. You haven't viewed any of my stories in 3 months in a row.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, like, okay, is it weird that like, because I just like to see who looks at my story. Like, I'll just like look to see. I don't know if other people do that, but
yeah, I also
but like I'll literally sit like
that.
in my bed like next to Jack and I'll just be like scrolling to see who looked at my stories. And I'm just like, oh, let's go. Like, so-and-so saw it. Or I'm like, oh, I'm like, so-and-so liked it. And then Jack's like, there's something actually wrong with you. Like, who cares? And I'm like, I care. Obviously, that's why I'm sitting here at 3 a.m. looking to see who looked at my stories. Maybe I'm different. Like, honestly, like, I'm kind of ditzy sometimes. Like, I won't do anything.
You're on auto. I think you're on auto. You watch stories like a bot. You just like, you're not really like watching them, but your eyes are open, but you're just kind of like, they're just kind of going, Like you're not necessarily like actually thinking, processing what you're looking at. You're just like
that is
in a haze, just watching it.
Yeah, and like that's why I mean, like I'll like sit there and click, but like for whatever reason I don't retain anything, and then like
that's what I'm saying. You're like a bot. That's why now I'm like, I'm not even mad if she doesn't say anything because she's probably not processing a single thing that I posted.
I know, but I don't know why I do that.
Like, you've been that person who's like, oh, like, did you do blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, you literally watched my story. What do you mean?
Okay, this is the real reason we're having this conversation, so we can have a therapy session about it. But I don't mean to. That's what I mean. I don't mean to. I think
but it's okay. But this is my favorite though, because like with you and me, we can just roast each other and like we're not actually taking it personally. Like, I know you're not going to go home and cry to Jack and be like,
Claire's being mean to me.
The pressure of just having to make reels, even though I'm a photographer and I do not do video. I mean, I do a little bit, but not really. There's so much pressure to make reels, to make everything video. And I'm just not about it because I'm a photographer first and foremost, not a videographer.
And to just piggyback off of that, making things vertical instead of horizontal if you are in the video world, because that sucks. It takes away a lot of what you're actually filming. Okay, second point. Who follows you in the creator world is kind of considered social capital nowadays. So I've seen a lot of people like if you have cool people following you, then that's a sign of credibility, even though you might not even be that talented.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one, actually. I think another one is being a social media creator versus being an artist. Like, what does that even mean? How do we even make these differences? Like, is one better than the other? Are they different? Are they the same? Do you call yourself a content creator? Are you an artist? Are you just a photographer, just a filmmaker? There's like this pressure to sometimes put a label on it and that one is better than the other. And I don't really know, like, do any of them mean anything anymore? It's like, what even is a content creator? Like, that could just be someone who makes funny skits on Instagram or on TikTok. It could equally be someone who shoots editorial photos for magazines. It's like, it all is the same. None of it is the same. It's all just shit show. So I don't know if that's a pressure, but it's just a mind fuck of social media.
But no, it is a pressure because it's like, what do you call yourself? Like, I feel like that's the pressure in itself. Like, do you refer to yourself as an artist, a photographer, a videographer, a content creator, an influencer? Yeah. Like, there's so many different roles that you could, or hats that you could wear.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, next one, fear of posting something less polished and fear that others won't think that it's good enough. because we often have this blurred line between personal brand and professional content that we post. So if you're always posting your professional work and then maybe you just want to do like a photo dump, first off, it might look weird in your feed if you're all about aesthetic. But second, people might be like, did you create this? Because we're so used to this and this doesn't live up to this. So we don't really like this as much. And that puts pressure on you as whatever you want to call yourself, an artist, because you're like, I want to post my work, but I also just want to maybe post about my life, which is what Instagram was made for in the first place.
Totally. And actually, to piggyback right off of what you're saying, the pressure to only be in a specific niche of creativity. Yes. So for example, if you shoot portraits, to only shoot portraits. If you are a sports videographer, to only shoot sports and not to shoot anything else because they won't do well on social media, and to not even post it. Or if you only edit with a certain color scheme, to never move on to a different color scheme because then people won't like it anymore. They won't support you. There's this crazy pressure to stick to a specific niche that you've implemented yourself into. Hate that. I know I feel it all the time. And I really don't like it, and I'm trying to move out of it, but it's really difficult when you do get attention for a specific type of work, and then you kind of build off of that, and then all of a sudden one day you're like, well, Lady Baggette's shooting sports now, or automotive content, and I'm just going to only post automotive content now.
Automotive content creator, and you're forced to then always shoot cars, because that you say you are, but then maybe one day you're like, I don't really want to shoot cars anymore, I want to shoot people, and people are like, you can't do that. You're a car guy. You're not people guy. So you get stuck in a niche. Another pressure.
So much pressure. Just there's a whole lot of pressure on this episode. On that note, I am literally getting the zoomies and I need to go run around in a circle or something. So we're gonna end this episode. But
wait, can we FaceTime? Can we FaceTime? Wait. Can we FaceTime each other and both run around in a circle at the same time after this?
Yeah, 100%. My neighbors are gonna be like, what drug is she on? Literally. But before we end this episode, we have some really exciting news that we've been talking about for a little bit, but we actually did it thanks to our producer, Elena.
Shout out Elena.
In the Shoot Your Shot house.
We love her.
We have a hotline. Woo! We have an actual phone number that you guys can call now, which is so exciting. It's going to make this way more interactive and way easier to communicate with you guys whenever we want you to be a part of an episode. So you can reach us at... Give me a second. You can reach us at 213-394-5034. Again, that's 213-394-5034. What are you doing?
I'm getting the like button up because I'm not talking, so I'm trying to...
You can now call us. We want to know everything. We want to know your creator confessions. We want to know your horror stories. We want to know if you need advice on something. Do you need a tip on how to... Do you want us to review your website? Do you need a tip on how to rate yourself for a certain project? Are you in a weird sticky situation with a client and you want some advice from your crackhead big sisters from Shoot Your Shot? We're here for you. We want to help you with everything. So please give us a call on that number. Again, it's 213-394-5034. And we're going to do an episode where we play all of the messages. We respond to all of your situations. I think that'll be a really fun way of being more integrated within the community. And if you want to call us and give us feedback, we love that also. If you want to hate call us, I think that'd be so entertaining.
That would be so funny.
So even if you hate us,
which
I don't know why you'd be even listening.
Well, no, if you're one of the people that we
hate.
Yeah, if you're one of the people that we potentially unfollowed, then call us, yell at us. Like,
call me out.
Call her out.
Let's get into it. But really, on that note, thank you so much for coming to another episode of Shoot Your Shot. Please leave us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave us a thumbs up and comment on our YouTube. Subscribe. And seriously, guys, head over to our YouTube because... That is why you need to head to YouTube. Some crazy shit just happened behind Georgia. Things just exploded behind her head. This is live from Shoot Your Shot, episode 24. Something exploded behind Georgia's head. Okay, if that's not your sign to go to YouTube so you can see what is happening right now, which I can't even describe.
I'm sweating right now.
I can't even describe it. Just gotta go to our YouTube.
It's crazy, guys. It's crazy over here.
Just do it. Okay, I gotta go. I gotta go run in a circle.
Okay, same. Love you guys. Bye. Call us.
Shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot.